Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's sports podcast. It's Friday, the 5th of November 2021. So, today here in the UK, it's bonfire night, and let's hope there's going to be plenty of fireworks in this weekend's sports. Sorry, I couldn't resist that one. A lot to get through today, so we'll start as usual with football. We'll look at the Premier League and last week's action in the Premier League. Chelsea have solidified their place at the top of the table. They had a comfortable 3-0 victory at home. Away to Newcastle. Never really any doubt by the seams of what I was hearing on Soccer Saturday. They're performing very well at the moment. Elsewhere, Liverpool were held to a 2-2 draw by Brighton, which was a bit of a surprise result. But I've said Brighton have been a bit of a bogey team for Liverpool over the recent times, and obviously Liverpool took the lead twice, but Brighton fought back to hand themselves a 2-2 draw. Man City was shocked at home by Crystal Palace. They lost 2-0 at home. Wasn't helped by Emerick Laporte being sent off just before half-time for being the last man. So that's dented their title hopes a little bit, but still remaining third. And then West Ham had a convincing victory, unfortunately for me, against Villa. They were very good with West Ham. Villa again, similar situation to Manchester City. Lost Esri Concert just before half time with a sending off for a similar offence to Emerick Laporte, who was the last man, just to be the last man. Although it did appear that the West Ham's player was going away from goal, but the referee decided to send him off, and after looking at the VAR, disappointing, but can't really complain. And West Ham overall were a miles better team, and Villa struggling a little bit at the moment. Seems to be lacking a bit of confidence, to say the least, and Tyrone Mings was dropped for that game. Although it hasn't affected his England position, as I'll come on to in a little while. So they're the top four teams at the moment. Manchester United had a good result last weekend after being humiliated the week before at Old Trafford. They showed how good they can be with a dominant display against Tottenham. I don't think Tottenham had a single shot on target in the whole game, and that led to the sacking of Nuno Espirito Santo last Monday, and we'll come on to his replacement in a moment. But yeah, Man United, Ronaldo scored the first goal. Dominant performance, 3-0 win at Tottenham. So they're in 5th place at the moment. So that's how things look in the Premier League this week. Moving forward, as I say, Tottenham have sacked Nuno Espirito Santo on Monday morning, just gone, and they've replaced him with Antonio Conte. His first game in charge will be this Sunday away to Everton. I think that's 2 o'clock kickoff. It may be the early tea. I can't remember if it's the early Sunday kickoff game or not. There's Everton and Tottenham at 2, and there's also Leeds and Leicester at 2 as well, or 2:15. So one of them's going to be on TV. This week also saw Eddie Howe agree in principle to become a Newcastle manager. We're just waiting for that to be confirmed. I don't think it may get confirmed today, but that was in the news yesterday. So I think he could be a good choice for Newcastle. It's a case of which players they can now attract. So see how they improve going forward. I'm sure it's a good choice. In my opinion, it's a good choice, Eddie Howe. Probably the best of what they could get after having been turned down by Unai Emery and of a manager. In fact, Conte was mentioned at one point. So yeah, but it's interesting to see if Newcastle do pick up after appointing Eddie, if it is confirmed. So looking forward to this weekend's games. The big match Saturday lunchtime, the Manchester derby at Old Trafford, United versus City. It's interesting and difficult to judge how this one might go. Manchester City's form's been a bit patchy recently. Manchester United's form's also been a bit patchy. But the last games probably favour United, and especially because they're at home. But then again, United's form over the last 2 years or so has been better away, so anything could happen. They've obviously got the players to beat City. It's whether they perform as a team on the day, and they aren't having to rely on Ronaldo again, which they seem to be having to do as they did in Europe during the week, and I'll come on to that in a moment. So that's the big game this weekend, the main game. The other big game is West Ham against Liverpool, which is the 4:30 game on Sunday. Both of these games obviously are on Sky, the ones I've mentioned. The other game on Sky for definite this weekend is tonight, Southampton against Villa. Villa need to be winning that one really if they're going to be looking to consolidate where they were last season and not slip down the table even further. Like I said, you're struggling for confidence more than anything at the moment. It's not they haven't got the players, it's they don't think they're performing to the. It's mainly, it seems to be the defence and the shape of the team and his ways disrupted things to change to maybe incorporate Danny Ings into the formation. And obviously Ings didn't play on Sunday, he had a few injuries. Well, Douglas Luiz was out as well. They struggled to get Leon Bailey fit. El Ghazi's been on the bench. I think there might be a couple more changes to come this week. I think hopefully Bailey will start again. show what an impact it can have. But they'll be looking for a win at Southampton at St Mary's tonight, so fingers crossed for Villa. That's how we are in the Premier League. During the week we had the Champions League, Europa League games and the Conference League games. Now in the Champions League the results went pretty well for the English teams. Manchester City beat Club Brugge by 4 goals to 1, convincing win there. The top of the group, we've still got PSG to play at home, but they should qualify without any problems. Liverpool had a good victory, 2-0 against Atletico Madrid. An interesting game, plenty of controversy there. One of the Atletico players getting a red card. It wasn't actually confirmed at the time whether he'd been sent off for dissent, getting a second yellow card after refusing to go to referee. Kept ignoring him after being shown. It's like the referee got the yellow card out, decided to give him a red because he kept ignoring him. But then it was said by UEFA afterwards, but the red card had been shown for a dangerous tackle. So, but having said that, Atletico were being a bit naughty, shall we say, and it like used the tactics of like kicking the Liverpool players after the ball had gone. I had a friend who was there. They were telling me some of the things that weren't on camera on TV that he saw at the game. So there were lots of yellow cards. Liverpool seemed to ease off a little bit in the second half. They took Mane off at half time, probably fear of him getting sent off because they were trying to get him sent off for Atletico quite clearly. But it was a 2-0 win for Liverpool, and they're already through as group winners to the next stage anyway. So maybe Klopp will rest some of the Liverpool players for the last 2 matches. But we'll see, won't we? Because obviously get paid. I was told this: the teams get £2 million per victory for each round they win. So that's how much it's worth to them. So it's not worth perhaps risking it all just for put some new players. But we'll see how it goes forward. It also probably depends on how the league's going and other things that's on the club's agenda at the time. So we've also other teams in the the Champions League this week. British teams, English teams. Man United drew 2 all the way to Atlanta. Basically, they were rescued by Ronaldo. 2 equalisers, including one in the 45th minute and one in the 90th minute. Second one was the only chance they had in shot on target, I think, in the second half, but he just volleyed it into the bottom of the corner. The goalkeeper was never saving it. So that point they got puts them back to the top of the group. If it had been, if they had lost the match, they'd have been in third place, facing the prospect of being eliminated in the game week. But now it's back in their own hands, so it looks like they should qualify. And then finally, Chelsea had a bit of a dull 1-0 win away to Malmo. Watch that; it was quite a boring game, but Chelsea did what they had to do. They won 1-0, and they're basically through anyway. So they just felt there. So there's not be a problem there, I wouldn't have thought. In the Europa League, it wasn't such a good week for the British teams. 3 draws and a win. The only team that won was Celtic. They're still struggling a bit to get through. They beat Ferencváros of Hungary away 3 goals to 2 last night. But they're still not guaranteed to be through. I think they're third in the group still, so it's not, and it's a tight group, so they could still struggle to go through. Most disappointing result was probably Leicester. They drew 1-0 home to Spartak Moscow. They had a chance to win when they brought Vardy on. One of his first actions was to take a penalty, but he had it saved by the keeper. It was a fairly good save, but it also wasn't the best of penalties. So, and they couldn't break them down again after that. They struggled, and they're struggling to get through this group now. They're third at the moment. Same can be said of Rangers. They're third in their group. They drew 1 all the way to Bromley of Denmark last night, and they're in third place in their group, I think, as well. So they're struggling. The only one that's really doing well are West Ham, and they managed a 2-all draw last night against Genk away in Belgium, and twice they were pegged back. In fact, they weren't pegged back. They were behind. They went in. They were losing 1-0. Then they went 2-1 up, but then they conceded a late goal, so it was 2-all. But they're more or less through already. They've won the 3 previous games, so they're pretty much sure to go through anyway. So, which is really good for West Ham. So a bit of a mixed bag of results there. And in the Europa Conference League, Tottenham beat Vitesse Arnhem 3-2. They were 3-0 up early doors, and it was 3-2 at half time and let them back into the game. And then both sides had a player sent off in the second half. Christian Romero was sent off for Tottenham, so they won. And they're sort of like the second in the group, so they should be okay. But it's a competition they should be doing much better in, really. I mean, for a club of Tottenham size, hopefully now they're going to pick up. Now they've got Conte as a manager, but they've really underperformed this season, especially Harry Kane. He's been really disappointing so far. He seems to be a very stop-start. But maybe he'll get a bit more freshness in his legs by playing the games for England as well. But we'll come on to that in a moment. England obviously picked the team for the qualifiers coming up, and basically there weren't any real surprises as far as I were concerned. Sancho, Lingard and Greenwood of Manchester United have all been left out, but Greenwood's not been getting picked anyway, so I suppose that's not really a surprise. Sancho's not really getting much game time at Manchester United. It doesn't seem to have worked out so far, but He's only been there a couple of months, so there's time for that to change yet. I've obviously seen what's happened with Danny van der Beek. I'm not too sure. Um, and then the other player who was left out, maybe a little bit surprising, was Kieran Trippier. In terms of new players coming in, there's a possible shout for Emil Smith Rowe to be included, I suppose. He's been playing really well this season, but he's playing in an area of the field where England have got an abundance of riches, really. So he's going to maybe find it hard to force his way into the team. So, but he's got a chance, no doubt. He looks a really good prospect. So that's where England are playing their two qualifiers next week, I think it is. And they've got San Marino and Albania, from what I remember off the top of my head. So they're good games. They should win. We're more or less through already anyway. But I think they need to get a win, and maybe a draw will seal it. But even if they don't get a draw against Albania, I think the goal difference and previous results will get them through as a group winners anyway. So we should know by the end of these next two games where England are in terms of going to Qatar in 2022. Moving on to the local, well, more local now, looking at the Conference National, FC Halifax Town. Good result last Saturday at Bromley, 0-0 draw away to them. Town are fifth in the league now because Bromley have actually passed them as a result of a second game this week. They played away to Woking on Tuesday night and they won 2-0, which took them above Town. They've still got a game in hand on Town and the three teams at the top of the league. And if they win it, depending on how many goals they win this game in hand by, they will be top of the table. Boreham Wood are currently top. They're having a really good season. They've benefited from poor results for Grimsby, who have lost again. They're struggling a bit at the moment. Having started the season so well, Grimsby have started losing a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the Bromley are in a good position at the moment. This weekend we've got the FA Cup coming up instead. I haven't mentioned Chesterfield, who were third, by the way. They drew their game last weekend 2-2, so they dropped some points. But this weekend it's the FA Cup. There's 6 live games on ITV and BBC. I felt that the games that have been chosen are very biased towards the southern teams. The only one that might be of real interest to fans in this area, probably Sheffield Wednesday against Plymouth. 12:15 on ITV. On Sunday, I think that kickoff is. Halifax are at home to Maidenhead. The game I'd like to see the Town win. Obviously, it's not the most attractive games. They'll be hoping to get through and get a good draw in the second round of the FA Cup. We've already played Maidenhead at home in the first game of the season and they beat us 2-1, so I think we'll be looking for revenge in that. Hopefully the Town will be up for it, and as the manager already mentioned, it's a money spinner for the club if it can get through, so that's the main sort of like focus and sort of like motivation, I think, for the players and for the manager to get us through to the next round of the FA Cup. Moving on from football now, I think we've just about covered all the football for this week. We're going to talk about cricket, the Cricket T20 World Cup. England made a really good start in the T20 World Cup and they're unbeaten so far. They've got the final group qualifying match on Saturday. They play South Africa. They've won 4 out of 4 of England, so even if they don't win the last game, they should get through on a net run rate, which is far superior to Australia and South Africa, who can still catch them. So that's in the first group. In the other group, Pakistan have won all 4 of their games, but they're a little bit behind in their group. They've still got more games to play. There's a chance that it could be Afghanistan, New Zealand or India joining Pakistan in the semi-finals. You'd say that looking at it, they've all got a reasonable chance. Namibia and Scotland are going to go out. They're not good enough, really. Namibia beat Scotland easily as well, so it's a bit of a surprise. But I think you look at those 4 teams that I've mentioned to go through to the semi-finals, which are next week, and then we've got the final, I think, a week on Sunday. I'm not sure exactly the dates. Let's look. Yes. The last qualifying game is India against Namibia on Monday the 8th, and then you've got the semi-final one on Wednesday the 10th. Semi-final 2 on Thursday the 11th, and the final is on Sunday the 14th. So we're getting to the sharp end of the tournament now. So good luck to England. They performed really well. Special mention to Joss Butler for a superb century in the last game against Sri Lanka. He needed a 6 off last ball to complete his 100, and he did it without any problems at all. So that's good news there. So well done to him, and keep going England. And like I say, hopefully they were probably the pre-tournament favourites, or one of them anyway. And because of the World 50 over world champions, people will be expecting England to win or be there or thereabouts, and I think they will be. So let's keep it going. Moving away from cricket, rugby union continued the autumn internationals this weekend. and all 6 of the teams that take part in the Six Nations have matches um, this weekend. Ireland are playing Japan, the Aviva Stadium in Dublin, and Italy take on New Zealand in the Olympic Stadium in Rome. We've got England are playing Tonga at Twickenham. Wales play South Africa at the Principality Stadium. France are playing Argentina tomorrow evening at the Stade de France, and Scotland take on Australia on Sunday afternoon at the Murrayfield. So 6 games there this weekend. Last weekend's game saw a convincing victory for New Zealand against Wales at the Principality Stadium, being 54 points to 16. And Scotland had a convincing win by 60 points to 14 against Tonga. So plenty to look forward to if you're a rugby union fan. And that's this weekend's action in autumn internationals. Next, we're looking at Speedway. The domestic Speedway season is now concluded. Poole defeated Glasgow in the Championship playoff final last night in the second leg. They lost the first leg up at Glasgow by 50 points to 40, but they overturned that last night with a 54-36 victory. For Poole, the top scorer was Rory Schlein, fitting end for his British career. He scored 11 plus 1. And for Glasgow, Craig Cook scored 11 and Tom Brennan scored 6. They were the only real riders who, in the home leg, in fact, it was Cook and Brennan that probably won them the match. To be fair, they're the ones that performed best in the final, but it weren't enough. And Poole, which isn't really surprised because they're the team with the money in the championship who've won it. It's not, and I'd like to think that Poole will be back in the top league next season, where they belong really. They've got the money, they've got the fans. They're a bit like the Man United of Speedway really, a Poole. Them and Wolverhampton, probably. We'll see what happens next season. Hopefully we're more than 6 teams in the top league. The big news this week in British Speedway is that Dan Bewley won't be riding in the UK next season. He's signed a contract to ride for Smederna in Sweden, a lucrative contract by all means of it. And because of the rules, the Polish rules, which only allow riders who ride in the top league in Poland to ride in one of the foreign league, because he's signed to ride in Sweden, he can't also ride in England. This obviously isn't right. As far as I'm concerned, that's not right. But having said that, British Speedway shot itself in the foot so many times. The promoters have buried their head in the sand, and now they find a situation where none of the top riders feel they can ride in this country. People may argue that the riders are being greedy or just money orientated, but to be fair, it is a short career, and to be fair, also they're risking their lives. It's a dangerous sport, let's be honest, and I'm sure that if you've seen the way Robert Lambert and Ty Wupperton benefit from not riding in the UK, you can see why Dan has taken this step. He's a young man with lots of ambition. Hopefully he'll be in the Grand Prix in the next couple of seasons. He's the reserve, one of the reserves for next season, so good luck to him, and hopefully we'll see him back at Bellevue at some point in the near future. It'll be interesting to see what happens when the announcements are made with regards to the domestic league, but I've got to say it's not that rosy at the moment for British Speedway. Like I said, hopefully we'll have more teams in the top league next year at the start. We have got Oxford coming back next year. Let's hope there's a chance that there might be a team at Bradford. I'm not convinced that will happen next year, maybe the season after, but I'd like to see some meetings there at least, even if it's just one-off open meeting, because it's such a good track, or it'll be such a track to come back into the sport, but you have to keep your eyes on the news for that. Okay, and finally this week, stock cars. And this weekend we've got meetings at Kings Lynn and on Saturday and Hednesford on Sunday. Both meetings are now National Shootout Series and World Championship qualifying rounds. Kings Lynn have received the transfer of the meeting from last Sunday. It was cancelled because of the waterlogged track at Sheffield. Obviously, and the meeting last Saturday at Bradford I went to, I wasn't impressed with. The conditions of the track were absolutely appalling. The racing was really poor. I left before the final. It took 3 hours to run 3 races. The 4th race I left. Frankie Wayman won the final. Fair play to him. The conditions did seem to improve a little bit by the final and the Grand National. But having stood there for 3.5 hours to watch 3 races on a track that wasn't very good, I just felt, that I'd had enough and I left the meeting. But I don't think I really missed loads and loads of stuff. So it's not an issue that I want to go over anymore, really. I want to brush over that. So we'll come back to see how the meetings this weekend go. And Tom Harris still leads the way in the shootout series from Ryan Harrison, but Frankie Wayman Jr. has closed the gap on them after his victory at Odsal last Saturday. So it's interesting to see how it goes this weekend. And the final is the following Saturday at Odsal, when hopefully the conditions will be much better than they were last weekend. So that's where we are with the stock cars. That's where we are with most things in sport at the moment. I think that's just about it covered. So I hope you've enjoyed watching again this week. And If you've got any comments you want to make down below, please do so. Anything you want to add or anything you're not happy about in the world of sport, just bring that up. And we'll be back next week with more news. So until then, I'll see you on Friday next week. Bye for now.